going to be here. Yeah. Here. Very good, yeah. Shall I start, or? Yeah.
I think we have the crowd.
Okay, good.
Did you meet Kevin Devil?
The music, yeah. Oh yeah.
And I was like,
Oh, the barman, the creepy barman.
no, I was nice, Gum.
Okay.
I was like, the man is acting very strangely.
Hello. Music off. I am, my name's Hugh Cooneys. I'm a mystical Irish storyteller type guy. If you don't mind, I'll hit you with the stick if you keep talking. That's why I've got the stick. He'll get you, right? He will. Let go of the stick.
What sort of stick is it?
It's Fox. It's my best friend, actually. I'd say. Yeah, I know. Yeah, so I'm going to add an air of mysticism to an already mystical night, in the sense of folklore, Grace O'Malley. And I just ask you to give it in a clonid sense. Those of you who are fond of a bit of baritone, to just go, I'm going to do a little entrance, and I need you to go, oh. Can you do it? Oh, gentle. Oh, this is soft opening. Oh. And then you're going to the old high notes. Right, so I'm going to go out the door, I'm going to come back in. I want baritone till I get to the edge of this mat here, and then when I hit there, we're going to lift it with a bit of... Okay, those of you who are fond of the Bee Gees, right? Okay, you ready? Oh my God, what an entrance. Am I right, guys? So I've been, I'm a folklorist, traditional Irish Shanachie in the modern age, and I've been following this project, and I've been fishing out lesser spotted Grace O'Malley, so to speak. And I had a trip to Clare Island, but I've also digged out a couple of things that she said that you might not hear in the mainstream. Apparently when she was attacking her own son for colluding with the English, as he retreated to his castle as he was defeated, she said, if you're looking for somewhere to hide, why don't you go back up my arse where you came from? There you go. Took a while to learn. He's on ketamine.
Wrong.
So basically, but the one story that I did hear from Clare Island was about Grace as a baby. And it brings Grace's origin into question. Where was she actually from? Now, the old ancient Irish gods were said to need people to worship them. And that's what the fairy people, the people of the mounds, are said to be. The old Irish gods diminished and a little bit bitter because no one worships them anymore. And that's why they steal babies.
That's Game of Thrones.
They swap babies. Who thought the videographer would be my only heckler? You could not write.
Here, I could write the script.
Shut up. So, that's why they steal babies. But it was said that when Grace O'Malley was a baby, and her father, Dove Dara, was out to sea, her tower house was no safe place for a baby. So her mother went to a cottage on Clare Island, and it was just her and the cottage and the tree. And she became obsessed with the tree, Grace's mother. She was like, oh, the fairy tree, oh. The neighbour said, don't cut down the fairy tree. Well, Grace's mother said it was like a gnarled claw coming up out of the ground, dragging the light out of the sky. And it's on my land. I'll cut it down if I want to.
This is Jack
And she went out to cut down the tree. And when she went to cut down the tree, there was a magical woman there, and she said, don't you cut down that tree! Don't you cut down that tree! If you cut down that tree, you'll have a price to pay for the fairies for the rest of your life. They'll steal your gorgeous baby Grace, and they'll swap them for one of their own. And you'll never know whether it's your baby Grace or the fairy. Well, I wasn't going to let that bitch tell me what to do. So she marched out by the light of the moon and she cut down the tree. Boo, boo, boo. Ah, go away. And then the next morning she went back into the house and she got her gorgeous little baby Grace. And Grace was absolutely gorgeous. She had lovely red lips, lovely plump cheeks, and she was an absolutely great eater altogether as well.
Oh, what?
And she tucked Grace into the cot by the embers of the dying fire and went into bed. And that night she heard a noise. Footsteps! Footsteps! Who could that be this time of night? Better not be Marty McGillicuddy again, I tell you that much. Then she heard the noise. Inside in the kitchen. Oh no! Grace! And she went into the kitchen, into the pitch black, and she heard the noise and she was knocked on her arse. Sorry, don't spill that. Don't spill that. She was knocked on her arse. And she woke up in the morning. Oh, good Jesus! Not again. And then she was cleaning up and she saw milk on the floor and there was these little footprints through the milk. She thought she was going mad, Grace's mother. And then she heard a noise coming from over at the cot. Whistling. She's about 3 months old. She's a bit young to be whistling. She went over to the cot, and there in the cot was her gorgeous baby Grace, but there was something about her. She looked a bit weird, something a bit off. No, you wouldn't trust her. And then she remembered what the woman said about the fairies stealing the babies. She went down to Marty McGillicuddy down the road, who knew something about that type of thing. And he said, you cut down that tree, didn't you? You cut down the tree. Now you'll never see your baby Grace again. Well, you never know it's your baby Grace unless you get a set of tongs, you heat up the set of tongs, and you squeeze the nose of the thing with the hot tongs. Now if it's a fairy, it'll be up out of the cot like a shot across the floor, out the door, and when the door slammed, your baby Grace will be back at the cot. Well, what if I go squeezing my baby Grace with a hot tongs? Well, I turned out all right, didn't I? Okay, sorry. Painting fell there. Took a bit of the juice out of that one. So anyway, the old one turned back up and she said, the only thing you can do is get a dozen eggs, break open the eggs, and pour out the contents of the eggs and sprinkle the eggshells into the pot as an offering to the other world. So Grace's mother, when she picked up a dozen eggs, Tesco Metro, they're everywhere at the moment. She poured the contents of the eggs down the well as an offering to the other world. And then she crept into the cottage, just in case it was a fairy and it wasn't Grace, though it could have been Grace, but she wasn't sure it looked like her. She went in and she boiled up a big pot of water. And as the fire boiled, the big pot of water, the water boiler. She sprinkled the eggshells into the pot. And as the water boiled down, she could hear this noise coming from over at the cot, scratching. And then she heard this voice. She saw this little head come up out of the cot. And then it spoke, and it said, "Mammy! Mammy! What is it that you're cooking up on that fire over there for us?" Well, Jesus, it's definitely not Grace. She's very advanced, but she can't talk, obviously. She's 3 months old. So she had a poke around the fire, which I was supposed to say earlier, to run him out of the house, but I forgot. So we had a poke around the fire, but it wasn't red hot yet. And Grace's mother kept her cool, and she said, "Oh, mush about the Grace, sure, don't you worry. Sure, I've only got some eggshells on for your tea." Well, Jesus, the fairy nearly hit the roof. It said, "Eggshells! Eggshells! I've been alive this 1,500 years and I've never heard anybody blowing up eggshells." Well, Jesus! Grace's mother knew it wasn't Grace then, because it was using this really unnatural voice. So she went to run her out of the house with the poker. She ran the fairy out of the house, and the fairy went up the chimney, like Interview with a Vampire, and it goes. It's real unnatural, floating. And then the fairy was gone. And then she woke up in the morning. She went over to the cot, hoping, wishing that her baby Grace would be back there in the cot. And there in the cot was her gorgeous little baby Grace. But it said that they're not sure whether it was the fairy or whether it was Grace. So nobody's quite sure. And it's when she's out on the ships in the fog doing her famous unnatural whistle that the fishermen of Clare Island still do to this day, and that's the truth. You can believe every word I say. That Grace O'Malley might have been of the other world. Thank you very much. Thank you. Cheers. Thanks. I think I went pretty well. Thanks a million, guys. My name's Hugh Cooneys. We've been doing this build up to this whole project for about 2 years, and it's been brilliant working with Katrina